Top of the top of the 10 and the knot. Happy MACM Wednesday. I gotta kind of holla out here because I'm moving around and my microphone isn't quite ready. You know what I mean? If y'all can see, I'm missing the whole mic. I'm going through some movements and stuff like that. But welcome, welcome. You know, this is our third MACM Law when it comes to facilitating trainers to our facilitator trainings. I'm sorry. Um, Give me 1 second. All right. Yeah, so this is our third law. All right, this is our third law that we're going to touch on today. And our third law consists of, we call this respecting them, code, climate, and culture. What do I mean when I say respecting them? Respecting the code, respecting the climate, and respecting the culture. What do I mean by that? There's a lot to consider when it comes to facilitating. There's more to decision making than just knowing a group's official decisions. All right. And the last law that we talked about was understanding one's place and how to make those decisions and get those processes, through the full group effectively so that you can come out with the best possible outcome. And the power that the facilitator has in that space. You must own that space. You must own and know your place in the space that you are in. That was the second law. Knowing your space, knowing your place. All right. The third law, again, respecting them, the code, climate, and culture. Now, each group has their own unique way of dealing with meeting. I'm gonna just put it out there, and our thing is we use our observation skills just to make sure that we're meeting the culture. We don't want to come in there and push our culture. We want to make sure that we observe the culture of what the space is in. If it's something that we don't vibe with, if it's something that you see that culture is fucked up, all right, I'm gonna just put it like that, then you want to go ahead and shift it. So our MACM culture, we bring our MACM culture in each space that we come in. All right. Sometimes some of the culture that we go into, we match it because that's the climate of the culture and that's the code of it as well. So, here's a few examples of how a meeting culture can vary. Some groups they love creative exercises. All right. They love fun activities, fun introductions and stuff like that. This could be, answering questions like, what's something no one else in the room knows about? All right. But in our way, we call that a Tuss Whitaker. You know what I mean? And in that instance, I love being in a space and just bringing up Tuss Whitakers because a lot of people do not know what a Tuss Whitaker is. We made Tuss Whitaker up. All right. And Tuss Whitaker basically means tell us something we don't know about you. All right. And it could be anything. But if one person in that space know it, you have to dig a little deeper to tell us something different. All right. So that's just a fun, engaging activity that we do in the spaces that we come in. But also too in more formal meeting spaces, it won't work. Especially considering adults. To put it honest with you, adults and facilitating. I'm gonna even say they're not as engaging as the youth. They're not as engaging as, even when it comes to some small little fun activity, they just too professional to want to have fun. Some professionals won't want to talk about their personal lives in that space. They want to just stick to, the small group work. They want to stay focused on the actual work, and that's fine. That's fine. We just know how to maneuver around those type of individuals. All right. Some groups also, they like to make decisions in advance. When we go into space, we don't expect our youth to be where we want them to be by the end of the training, by the end of the session, by the end of the workshop. We don't expect them to come into the door like that. So with that expectations, we know that we will meet you right where you are at. We won't expect too much of you because expectations only let us down at the end of the day. So we hold off on our expectations and we meet the youth right where they are at. Like I was saying, some group make decisions in advance and it be fucked up, but at the same time, it's necessary just to make sure that the decision-making process can go smoothly. So like for example, there's a lot of community and labor groups that have staff interview representatives from key groups that craft proposals based upon those interviews. And at the same time, those proposals are usually developed, they're adapted and informally agreed upon prior to the meeting. And these are the facilitators and everything that put this together before the meeting. Usually, controversial decisions that wouldn't get approval have already been discarded, so the participants won't even be aware of those options because they were controversial and it'll be a long conversation that we won't have the time for. So we already discard those kind of conversations or those decisions when it comes to this process. It may seem undemocratic, but in some spaces it is necessary. Me myself, I have a culture of a loose facilitation where I rarely intervene. I'm gonna facilitate the activity. I'm gonna let y'all know what it is, and then I'm gonna be, I will participate in the beginning, but then I step back out of the participation lane just so I can be more of an observer. I want to make sure that I can see what's going on. I can see what the folks who are in the mix can't see because they're in a mix. All right. I give them room to stray a little, and that's all right. Same thing when it comes to conflict management in the classrooms. If I see two youth getting at it, they rah-rah-rahing each other, I'm not going to jump in to stop the rah-rah-rahing. I want to see how far this rah-rah-rahing is going to actually go. All right. That's just me. And again, in the space that I'm in, I know how to de-escalate when it is necessary. And a lot of these situations are not necessary for de-escalation. It will become necessary once you jump in and then they blow up. It's almost like when a baby sees blood, then they start crying. If they don't see no blood, if you don't panic, they won't panic. All right. Other groups too, there are groups that are strictly to the agenda. They have a very culture of tight facilitation where the facilitator might keep a rigid track of who is speaking and how long that person can speak for. And an example of that is the Robert's Rules of Order. I don't know if y'all heard of that. I just recently heard of that, probably within the last 3 years. All right, where it's a very formal decision-making code that is often used by legislations, board of directors, and just other groups that abide by 51% majority decision-making system. You know what I mean? That's the Robert's Rules of Orders. Some group assigns, limited power to the facilitator and expect the facilitator to just gently nudge the group along, just push them kindly, while other group grants the facilitator a lot of power, even allowing some of them on some occasions to go beyond his or her traditional role. They provide more direction into the group's decisions. And when it comes to that part, again, these are all just different variations of different types of cultures of facilitating. I don't know how or what's the most effective for for you, I know what's most effective for me. I know that I'm not the rigid type. I'm not the give me all the power type. I don't want no power. All right. The variations on, on the culture, it all depends on that space that you are entering. And the best way to find out the group's culture is to ask questions. Ask questions, observe their other meetings, observe what they've been doing prior. You can abide by the code if it's something that you rocking with, or you can say, you know what, that's not a code that I'm not gonna rock with. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring my own culture, my own climate, my own code to this table so we can rock that way. All right, and that is all right. That is all right as well. You know what I mean? So again, the key thing that you want to take away from this training is, in order to get to the bottom of the culture, to get to the understanding of the culture that you're in, ask questions. All right, that's what we got for today. You know what I mean? This is our MACM Law number 3: respecting them, respecting their code, respecting their culture, respecting their climate. All right. If every MACM was just like me, what would this world be? Peace.